What's up guys, welcome back to Daniel Talks Football right here on YouTube. I am Daniel and we are back with another video. In this video we are going to be talking through one thing about every World Cup team so far, a bit like a recap of game week 2. Before I do get into the video, I would need to ask you to like the video, comment down below and also subscribe to the channel. Go over and follow the Instagram and the TikTok Daniel Talks Football on both as well. Right. Let's get straight into it and we'll get into it with Qatar. I know there's already one of these type of videos out on the channel and there'll be another one after game week 3. I'm planning on doing these after every single game week. It's hard to find something to say about every team, so some of the things may be repeated. If they are, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to go through and check the other video. 2 videos coming out today, so I hope you do enjoy it. Anyway, Qatar is the first nation to discuss. They lost 3-1 to Senegal. Yeah, they're the first home nation to go out after 2 games. Well deserved, really. They have not been good enough. They've not been a good enough side. They don't deserve to be here. They wouldn't have qualified if they weren't the home nation. And yeah, they've deservedly been knocked out. So Qatar, goodbye. I don't think I'll probably see you in a World Cup for a long time. Senegal beat Qatar 3-1 in this game and put across a really good performance here. They just need to beat Ecuador and they'll be fine. I know losing Mane was a big blow for the Senegalese side. If they beat that Ecuador side, then they'll be fine and they'll go through. And that's the main thing for them. They want to get out of the group. And if they do, I think they'll be perfectly happy with that. It's a tough ask, though, because as I say, this Ecuador side looks really good and put up a really strong performance against the Dutch side, which Senegal weren't really able to do. You know, they ended up collapsing, yet Ecuador managed to hold on for the point. They've looked impressive without Mane, at least in this game did Senegal. I know the Netherlands game was tough and I know they did just kind of defend in that one. They looked good in this one. It'll be interesting to see how they actually play against Ecuador. But they might be okay. They just need to beat Ecuador and they'll be through. Talking about Ecuador, drew 1-1 with Netherlands in this game. They looked really, really good. You know, to come back from a goal down as well through no other man than Enner Valencia, who has looked incredible. A player that I don't think anybody expected to score, 3 goals throughout the tournament so far. Looked really, really good. As I say, Valencia is absolutely class. And I think this Ecuador side will go through. The predictions have either already come out or they're coming out later. I don't know what's happening today. But yeah, Ecuador looked really good. A good point versus this Dutch side. And yeah, I think they'll go through. So fair play to Ecuador. It wasn't something that anybody was expecting. Last but not least, Netherlands. There's no need to worry. I know you've just drawn to Ecuador, but again, you're still a really good side. You've got a lot of really good players. You'll top the group and smash Qatar in the final game to boost your confidence. Just calm down. I'm going to say that a lot of times, I think, during this video, or simply you just weren't good enough. Just calm down here for the Dutch. You will be fine. You'll get through the group. The squad maybe does need to start being looked at, to phase out a couple of players and bring in a couple of new ones. You look at people like Van Dijk won't still be there for the next World Cup. But I think you'll still be fine for the Euros. You'll be fine for this World Cup. Do not worry. Right, Group B now. And the first thing to say in Group B is Wales. Wayne Hennessy's cost them here, really. Getting that red card in the 86th minute. They were holding on really well up till that point. And then obviously conceding in the 98th and 101st minute. It's really screwed Wales over here. If they could have picked up that point versus Iran, they would have been on 2 points. Iran would have been on 0 points. And that would have put Wales right there to be able to qualify if they could pick something up against England. They went on to lose this game and Hennessy's really messed them up. I look at the rest of the squad though and I think it's not good enough. The squad does need a bit of a refresh now. Kiefer Moore is doing a job in this tournament, will be 34 by the next World Cup. Gareth Bale, 37, probably won't still be playing football. Aaron Ramsey, 35, was awful in this game versus Iran, absolutely awful. He's another one of those players that went to Nice in the summer that just hasn't worked out. Hennessy obviously picking up that red card. It was maybe a challenge that needed to be made, but it's never a positive thing. I look at this side and I think they really do need to start looking at a refresh. They need to bring in some new star players because next World Cup, your star player is going to be someone like Harry Wilson if you even qualify. You need to get Gareth. Obviously, you're going to keep playing Gareth Bale, but you need to bring someone new in that position and start blooding the youngsters if you have any big ones. Or you're going to be in a mess for a long time because you've been relying on Bale and you've been relying on Ramsey, and these are 2 players that you can't rely on anymore. Iran, 2-0 win in this one. They looked quite good. They looked a lot better than they did versus England. I genuinely think the politics are out the way now. They don't have to sort of make that political statement anymore. It's been made. If there was any worrying about if they'd get punished for doing that or whatever, that's been done now. I think they continued not to sing the national anthem. But the first time doing it is obviously the scariest thing, so it's interesting to see how people are going to react. They've done it now, there's no politics in it for them, and they won it. So, yeah, fair play to Iran. Looking a lot better, we'll have to see how they do, but yeah, they looked alright in this game. England, a 0-0 draw with USA. I did a whole match reaction on this, but the thing I need to say is, what's happened here then, Gareth? A lack of forward-thinking tactics, you're focusing too much on playing defensively. You've got all that attacking talent on the bench, yet you're continuing to keep Mason Mount on him, and you've got Phil Foden sitting there. You've got James Maddison fit now again, and I expect to see him get some minutes, but I really don't think he will. Yeah, it's poor from Southgate again. The US, however, they were a lot better than England here. They really, really were. I thought that they looked good. This is a World Cup too early for them. They've got a lot of young players in that side, and I think 2026 could be really scary for a lot of sides. This US side looks good, and I think that could be the year. There'll be new guys coming through, plus, the current guys. It's a young side. These guys will mature and be there for that next tournament. You've got a lot of players like, 20 to sort of 25 region. I don't think there's anybody that really started in this game that's too key. Like Zimmerman and Tim Ream, and Turner. But apart from that, the whole side was under 25 for this game. It's a young American side. Obviously, in 2026, that tournament will be held in America, Canada, and Mexico, I think. But that could be the tournament that they do well. But yeah, just a tournament too early for the US. But I think they will absolutely smash it. Then Group C now, and we start off with Poland. Good for Lewandowski to get his first World Cup goal. That's what I want to touch on here. It's big for him. He's a world-class striker, one of the top, 3 strikers in the world probably at the moment. It's good to see he's finally scored for Poland. He's been stiffed a little bit by the fact that he is Polish, and that's not any, disrespect on the Poles. But if he was Spanish or German or something, then, he would have scored a lot more goals and probably got a lot more respect by, the worldwide media. Scoring his first world goal is big though, so fair play to Lewandowski for that. Saudi Arabia, 2-0 loss in this one, obviously, versus the Poles. They've made their memory in this World Cup. I think they're going to struggle to progress out of this group now, sitting in third. I know they've got Mexico, so maybe they could pick up a point, but they need to really win that game because Argentina will probably beat Poland. There was a chance maybe to pick up a point in this game. They didn't even hold on really long enough. They missed a penalty though. That's the key thing. If they would have scored that, there could have been a possibility they maybe could have held on for their 1-1 draw. They've had their big moment of glory here. So fair play to the Saudis for beating Argentina, and I think they will actually go home happy with that. Speaking of Argentina, 2-0 win versus Mexico for them. They look better here. They've overcome their blip versus Saudi Arabia. They'll be fine. They'll go through. You don't need to worry, Argentinian fans, whatever. You'll be fine. He'll go through. You'll probably still make easily, the quarters of the semis. Could he still win the competition? Absolutely. You'll be fine. Again, don't worry. You're fine. And then last but not least, in Group C, you've got Mexico. I just don't think they're good enough. I look at this Mexican side and I see people like Guardado, who's now 36. I want to say, 36. Hector Herrera, who's 32 and is playing for Houston Dynamo. Their defence, you've got, a 34-year-old, a 31-year-old in there. Ochoa is obviously 37. By the time the next World Cup comes around, you'll have a lot of these players that will have moved on. So you're going to have to sort of sit there and analyse it. Well, Jimenez is also 31 who came off the bench in this one. It's just not particularly inspiring from this Mexican side. And yeah, they're going to need to rebuild to try and get back to the levels that they once were at. Group D now. And first up we have Tunisia. They had a good draw with Croatia. I thought they played well in that game. Weren't quite as good here versus Australia and did absolutely need to pick something up to qualify. They won't beat France. They'll probably get smashed around by France. And yeah, I think they'll go home fairly happy. They picked up a point. They drew with Croatia and that's fine for them. But yeah, not much to say on Tunisia. Australia, on the contrary of that, beating Tunisia was absolutely massive. It puts them second in the group. It means they've now got to face Denmark out. Yeah, they've got to face Denmark in the final day. That will be tough. If they could pick up a point versus Denmark, then they go through. However, I don't think they will be. I think Denmark will beat this side. Yet still, picking up 3 points to Australia in a World Cup is fine. It's good for them. It's a good step forward for the nation. If they could pick up a point versus Denmark, that would be absolutely massive. Speaking of Denmark, I did actually want to say, I know they haven't been great so far this World Cup, but you look in the run-up to the World Cup, people are still trying to tip them as their dark horses. Are Denmark good? Like, properly good? Because are we going to start classing them in the division now of, a side like Netherlands? Germany. Maybe not Spain quite yet. But that kind of level below world class, are they in that tier now? Because I felt like they were going between the two, in there with teams like Switzerland. But it feels like people are really starting to rate them now. They'll probably go through here, especially if they beat Australia. And at that point, they could easily win the next round. Then they'll be through to the quarters. And again, you have to start taking them seriously. So it's interesting for this Danish side. Are we allowed to call them dark horses anymore? I'm not sure. France, good unit. Very good unit. Beat Denmark 2-1 in this one, and that's a massive result for them. I thought they looked good on the night. I was tipping the Danes to get a draw in this one, but they didn't quite manage to pull it off. Yet did fight until the end, and I respect that from them fully. This is a French side without people like Raphael Varane and Karim Benzema. It's scary. It's really, really scary about what this side could be if they had them in it, but they don't for this World Cup, thankfully. I know I'm moving through this quite quickly. It's late as of recording this now, and I want to go to bed. Group E next up, and the first game in that was Japan versus Costa Rica. Costa Rica running out 1-0 winners. Japan, you've lost your chance. Japan fielded a weaker side in this one, resting people like Minamino and Aito and Mitoma. That's really going to have screwed them over, because had they won this game, you would have been there on 6 points, and you should have beat Costa Rica. They were clearly looking ahead to that Spain tie, which was the wrong thing to do. You just needed to make sure you beat Costa Rica here, got 3 points, and then you would have been through. Especially after that Germany result, you would have been through. It's disappointing from Japan. I think they've lost their chance now. They won't go through because they won't beat Spain. If anything, I think Costa Rica are the side that are more likely to go through. So yeah, Japan lads, you've lost your chance. Costa Rica, however, it's a very good victory for them here. Is there a comeback story on? They lost 7-0 to Spain in that first game. I can see them picking up a point versus Germany. I can. Knocking the Germans out and taking themselves through. It would be massive if they could, but I thought they showed some real fight in this game and looked the better side. If that Japanese side can beat Germany, then who knows what Costa Rica can do. This is football for you. You've got Japan that have beat Germany. A German side that's then gone and drawn to Spain. A Costa Rica side that's beat Japan, who beat Germany, but then a Costa Rica side that lost to Spain. It doesn't make sense because it's football and it's not played on paper. But in theory, this Costa Rica side should be better than the Japanese side, at which point they should be able to get something out of that Germany game. I'm backing it because I like to back the underdog, but it'll be very rough for them. Spain versus Germany now. We will touch on Spain first. I want to say for Spain, I want to move away from the World Cup a little bit, and I just want to say how incredible it is for them to lose a midfield of Xavi and Iniesta, and within a couple of years have replaced it with Pedri and Gavi, who will be there for the next 10-15 years. Pedri's 20 years old, Gavi's 18. It's mad. You've got more young players coming through, like people like Alejandro Balde, Nico Williams. Also, you've got Ferran Torres is still fairly young. Olmo, Guillamon, Fati, Garcia, Pau Torres, Pino. You've got a lot of the excellent players in the Spanish side that are going to be there for a long time. Give it 5 years, this Spanish side will be a really scary side with a lot of good wingers and midfielders and defenders. They're still missing a striker, and that's a concern. If they can bring through a striker, and maybe if Nico Williams turns into a striker, then this Spain side will be a really, really big thing. Germany, I've just spoken about the striker with Spain. The lack of 9 could really cost Germany here. The lack of a goal-scoring number 9. In this game, you played Thomas Müller as a striker and ended up bringing on Niklas Füllkrug. With Germany, they do have that 9 coming through. They've got Yusufa Moukoko, who, is he's 17, 18 now. he's the future for this side, obviously. And, your next World Cup, he'll be 22. That will be his time to shine. Germany will be fine in the long run. However, I'm not sure about them this tournament. I feel like they're lacking something to be able to go far. Group F now, that's what I'm on. Group F. Right, start off with Belgium. I've done a full vid on this Belgium side, but in all honesty, what I can say is they just need a squad refresh. They've got a lot of ageing players. Starting Witsel over Tielemans was a really poor decision. People like Dries Mertens, Batshuayi, Hazard, De Bruyne, Lukaku, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, all these players by the next World Cup, even Meunier, all these players by the next World Cup will be mid-30s, if not, 40s. Vertonghen will be 39, alright. But they'll all be mid-30s, so it's time to start phasing a couple of these lads out. You still need to keep playing them because they're top players and still are performing at the top of their level. But you need to start being able to bring through the young players. People like Axel Witsel is not good enough anymore. Why is he starting in this game? Start Youri Tielemans. Start Youri Tielemans, basically. Poor from Belgium in this game, really poor, and they need a refresh. Morocco, on the other hand, absolutely excellent. They've got some really underrated talent on the side. I didn't rate them going into the tournament yet. People like Boufal, En-Nesyri, Ziyech, Amrabat, Mazraoui and Hakimi, Aguerd, even Romain Saiss, formerly of Wolves. They've got a solid outfit and some really underrated talent on the side. They're in a good position to qualify from the group, being second on 4 points. They can just ensure that they pick up a point from Canada, then they've got they probably will go through, I want to say. I mean, it'll go down to goals scored then, unless Croatia lose to Belgium by more than 2. Yeah, I think Morocco will be completely fine here, and they'll go through, and that'll be huge for this side, especially in a group with both Belgium and Croatia. And not many people are tipping Morocco to do well. I certainly didn't. Croatia, I'm so torn on this Croatian side because I keep hating on it, yet I shouldn't be because they're playing well. I'm going to hate on them again though, and I'm sorry. It's going to be the final World Cup with this group of players, and I know I'm saying that a lot, but for a lot of sides, they're reaching the end of their cycle. Or they're at the start of their cycle for teams like the US and Canada. Perisic, Kramaric, Modric, Brozovic, Kovacic, Lovren. By the next World Cup, all these players, maybe not Kovacic, but all the rest of them will have to be phased out. Because they'll all be either mid-30s or, nearing 40. This has been an excellent group of players for Canada, for Croatia, and have obviously made them reach the World Cup final, which is incredible for a country of that size. Yet they look excellent at the moment, and I'm not denying that they do, but they do need to start looking ahead to refresh this squad, start to phase a couple of members out. I mean, Modric will probably retire from football any day now. So after that's done, you can start to phase out the old guard and bring in the new guard. Canada, don't worry. It was the first World Cup for this Canadian side in a long time. It's just too early for them. They'll be back soon enough. They've got a nice young side, and they'll be bringing through more players. Football, or soccer as Canadians call it, is just kind of coming through in Canada. So you're going to be phasing out those older guys that were around when maybe it wasn't such as big, like Borjan, Miller and Hutchinson, who shouldn't still be playing for the side at the age of 39. You start to phase them out and you bring through the new lads and you'll be completely fine. There's new lads coming through in Canada. So yeah, don't worry, this side will be fine, and I expect to see them at the World Cup in 2026, and expect to see them do well there as well. And then last but not least, on to yesterday's games. We'll start off with Cameroon, who had a 3-3 draw with Serbia. Entertaining for sure. Came back from obviously 3-1 down and pulled 2 back through. Took it to an equaliser with Abubakar and Choupo-Moting scoring. They just haven't had enough in this tournament, sadly, Cameroon. They've been stuck with a tough group with Brazil, Switzerland and Serbia, 3 top teams in there. It was always going to be hard for them to qualify out of it. Yeah, they've given a decent account of themselves. They've got Brazil on the final day, so will probably go on to lose that game. But it's completely fine. I think Cameroon have been fine, just not enough in the end. Serbia, a lot of people were tipping Serbia to be the dark horses. I think in the prediction video there was a couple of people in it who may have predicted Serbia to even go to the quarters, maybe even the semis. Injuries have hurt them here. or not even injuries per se. It's players not being at full fitness. Mitrovic hasn't been at full fitness. I don't really know if Kostic is at full fitness. You've got people like Vlahovic who isn't at full fitness. You've got an out of form Jovic. People like these are really harming the Serbian side and making it so that they can't push on further. It hurts because I feel like the Serbian side should have been able to do more, but I don't think they'll be going through now. And yeah, I think they'll be out, which is tough. Brazil, there's really not much to say. They beat the Swiss side. They did it well. Fair play to them. Through to the next round, and they're still one of the favourites for the tournament. Switzerland, however, these guys look good. I think these guys could be dark horses. I could see these guys progressing to, the quarters or the semis. They're going to be a side where I'm going to do an updated sort of knockout predictions, and they're going to be a side in that where if they're dealt with a nice bracket, then I will put them far, because I think they're a good side and they could definitely cause an upset. They beat that France side at the Euros, and that's not an easy thing to do if you look at some of the players that are in that side. This Swiss side is a good side, and their flag's a huge plus. But moving on to Group H now. First off, we have South Korea versus Ghana. South Korea, an exciting side. They played well versus Ghana here, coming back and scoring those 2 goals when it looked like they were down and out 2-0 when they were 2-0 down. Son hasn't done enough in this tournament. Let's all be honest. There's no need to try and hide it. He's done nothing in this tournament really. 0 assists, 0 goals in a side that needs to rely on a player of that quality. He hasn't done enough. I know he came into the tournament carrying an injury, and I'm sure that's affected him. But it's meant that South Korea haven't progressed. Ghana, however, I'm going to say it again. I said it in the last one, but I do not care. Mohamed Kudus is incredible. As a Leicester fan, I would love my side to go out and sign this guy in January for 30 million if we can do it. Because I think he's absolutely incredible. He can play as a midfielder, he can play as an attacking mid, he can play on the wings even. He looks incredible. He was a player that was supposed to go to Everton in the summer and was closing in on that move, yet decided that he wanted to stay at Ajax. Now he's going to be getting a move far bigger than that. I could see him being the new Liverpool midfielder, and Mohamed Kudus just looks excellent. Portugal, I don't think they are excellent. They beat Uruguay 2-0 in this one, and that's fine. They've literally just finished playing as of recording. They looked fine, but I don't think they're excellent. Again, they're a side that you've got people like Carvalho, who is possibly coming to an end. Bernardo Silva, again, he's 28. Ronaldo, obviously, they're going to need to get used to playing without Ronaldo, and that's a massive thing. Ronaldo won't still be here at the next World Cup. I think Bruno is excelling in this side, though. Bruno Fernandes looks absolutely excellent in this Portugal side. The players around him aren't particularly performing up to that kind of standard. They're not a team yet. But maybe they can... Maybe next World Cup, when they don't have that Ronaldo pressure, I could see them doing something. Over this one, I think, they'll get knocked out probably in the quarters. And then last but not least, Uruguay. I've said it so many times, but they're another squad that's sort of approaching the end of that cycle. People like Cavani... Godin, and obviously Luis Suarez, who's on the bench for this one. All guys that are 30. Suarez is 35, Cavani is 35, and Godin is 36. Some key players that were key players a couple of years ago for this Uruguay side, and were part of that big success story for Uruguay. Yet they're not quite there anymore, and as I say, I think it will take a little while to rebuild this Uruguay side. They'll need to bring through some new players. You've got people like Nunez and Bentancur and Valverde coming through, Jimenez as well, so they'll be fine. Will they progress in this tournament? They won't. They're bottom of the group now at 1 point. They won't be progressing, and we'll have to see what they can do for 2026. But yeah, that is one thing about every World Cup team. I hope you have all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you all again in the next one. See ya!